Oh hi, hello, and welcome to my review of FTL Faster Than Light. Sit down, grab a snack, and enjoy. So, I can hear you asking, what is FTL? Well, FTL is an indie game released by Subset Games in 2012. In this game, you command a spaceship in order to go whoop some rebel ass. So, if you like space, shooting, boarding, managing crew, and some really thick, chunky rock boys, this game is for you. But back in the ancient times of 2012, when I saw this game, I thought it was simplistic. Too simplistic even. No cutscenes, 2D graphics, no animations, no voice acting, and it seemed to have a really repetitive gameplay. So I thought to myself that this game looked a lot more like a prototype than a real fleshed out project. So I decided not to buy it. But then, in the dark times of 2020, something happened. I was somehow convinced to stay at home. I had online classes and I was bored. And with nothing else to do, I decided to try this game out. At first, I wasn't really convinced, but then I started recruiting aliens, which seemed to have different characteristics. I came across some events and unlocked the second ship of the game. I discovered how many ships there were, how many aliens there were, how many events. Something in my mind went, holy shit nugget, as I realized how much content there actually was. And that's where I kind of fell in love with indie games, because I realized how different every playthrough is going to be, how much different strategies there were, and how different all of the ships and the races were. This hooked me on this game. I wanted to pour it into my veins, as the virtual junkie that I am, every single droplet of content. So, saddle up people, as we're going to space, fight some rebels, and hopefully not get blown in the first 10 minutes of the game. So, let's talk about the story of FTL, how it began. Well, FTL began with Justin Ma and Matthew Davis, two fine gentlemen working at 2K Games at the time in Shanghai, and one day they decided to take a risk. They left 2K Games to start their own company, Subset Games, and to produce their first IP, which was, you guessed it, FTL. At the beginning of their journey, they took about 6 months to create the core idea of the game, and they managed to finish it in about a year. A single year. So I naturally asked myself, how much flour did they put inside their veins for this to happen? I mean, 1 year for completing a game while being only 2 devs is incredible.
Matthew Davis.
I can assure you it is 100% pure.
Excellent. Gentlemen, we're about to make it.
FTL.
At first, they had a lot of ideas. They even thought about transitioning into 3D whenever you meet an enemy ship for combat. But Matthew Davis was very inspired by Tetris and said, why not just have both ships on screen in combat so that players can manage the systems and the crew as well as the weapons more efficiently. And was that a good idea? So, when they had a functioning prototype, they started a Kickstarter for FTL, and they ended up receiving around $200,000, which is not that much to create a game. To work on a game and have a company, a functioning company, it's really not that much, considering nowadays AAA titles take millions to create. Consider this. Those guys were only asking for $10,000 to create an entire game, which is insane because it's 7 times less than what people were asking for designing this. So, on September 4th, 2012, they released the game on Steam and it was a massive success, winning multiple awards. The boys were swimming in the moolah, but you knew that they were passionate about this game. It was their baby. So, they released free DLC, the Advanced Edition, in 2014, which was 2 years later. See how I can do math? I went to school, yes. But first, to understand why it was so successful, let's look at the gameplay. Now, I understand that this game may seem ugly, but I truly believe that if you get past the graphics, you will see the sheer amount of content and the love that was put in this game. And oh my god, is there content to be had in this game? So let me talk about the basic gameplay loop. So the goal is very simple. You jump from sector to sector with your ship. You have to reach the 8th sector, where you will find this big, lovely, chunky rebel flagship, which, don't mistake me, will destroy you a couple of times. It's a roguelike. I mean, it's a 2012 roguelike. But if you manage to destroy it, now that we got past the basic stuff, let's get into the real meat. You have a ship full of systems, like the basic ones: engines, weapons, drone controls, shields, except if you're playing with a stealth ship, and oxygen. Of course, you have oxygen. I mean, who doesn't love oxygen? My favorite gas. And you also have some subsystems such as sensors, piloting, and doors. Each of the major systems needs to be powered up, and it's for you to decide how to power them up. But here's the genius: you will never have enough power to power everything up. Even if your reactor is at max level, you only have 25 bars of power, which means you cannot power everything. So here's where you have to choose and manage your systems. You have to choose which one to upgrade, and that means it costs scrap. You won't be able to upgrade everything. A good advice I could give you is upgrade your engines and your shields. You should have level 2 shields by the end of the first sector, because if you go into sector 2 with 2 bars of shields, most of the enemies won't even be able to touch you, which is so tasty. Now let's talk about our very patriotic and not at all unpaid labor, crewmates. Each crewmate can be put in a system. When you put them in a system, you gain plus 10% evasion in engines or minus 10% cooldown in weapons. The more you let your crew in a system, the more they will gain XP and they'll become better at the system. So once you assign a crewmate to a system, you better keep him there. So now you know that you have a crew, you have systems, you jump from beacon to beacon. But what happens when you jump to a beacon? Well, if you remember what I said in the introduction, it has events, and those events mostly are ships waiting to wreck you. And that brings me to the combat in FTL is pretty simple, pretty unrefined actually. You have a ship, they have a ship, you fight, bim bam boom, you try to destroy each other. Pretty simple, right? That's where strategy comes along. You quickly understand that if they damage your systems, those systems go offline. And you have to run with your crew, try to repair them, because if they damage something like your shields, you're unable to defend yourself, so they damage more systems and you will die, which is complete bull. Excrement. Sorry, don't know what happened back there, I got a little PTSD. But the good thing is that logic works for them too, and you can attack their systems, so you will have to be very careful when and where you place your shots. But that's exactly what I love about the FTL. It's like chess, you have to decide which pieces or systems to take out, because some are dangerous, some are less dangerous, or it will depend on the ship, you see. If a ship has a lot of shields but not very good weapons, well then you're going to concentrate your fire on those shields, and vice versa. If they have a lot of weapons and not good shields, well, maybe their shields can wait. Maybe the weapons are the priority here. It's just so intense and so great because you're always trying to fire before they charge their weapons. You're always trying to not leave them time to repair the systems. I love it. You have to experience by yourself if you want really to understand that intensity that comes from combat in FTL. But anyway, time to look at the different weapons you're going to have to destroy your enemies. I know, I'm pretty cheery about that because it brings me joy. Anyway, there are weapons for everyone at this planet. That's great! Diversity! You have rocket launchers for those people who do not like shields. Well, rockets are great because they ignore shields. They just straight up ignore shields. But the thing is that rocket launchers use rockets. And rockets are a finite resource, so you're not going to be able to have rockets all the time. But it's great in a pinch. You can use them to bypass shields and attack different systems. You may have lasers, which do pew pew damage. They do not bypass shields, but you can fire them an unlimited amount of time. You can have burst lasers, which can fire a volley of lasers, which can shred shields, and it's awesome. There are also beam weapons, which are the very destructive cousins of the lasers. You fire those in a line, and they will destroy everything in that line, but they have a long cooldown time, and most of them cannot drop shields down. They're just stopped by shields. Ion weapons are the support of all this. They don't do damage, they only disable systems or the shields, which is great to have, but don't build with only ions because, once again, they do not deal damage. And last but not least, we have the eco-friendly version of destruction. We have the flag guns, which are like shotguns that shoot garbage at people. Yay, recycle your garbage and kill your enemies. It's awesome! The flag guns completely shred shields and they completely destroy ships, but the thing is, they have a long cooldown time and they're not very accurate because you're literally just throwing garbage at people. So yeah, those are the 4 main types of guns you're going to use, but you only have a limited amount of power, remember, to put in your weapons, so you're never going to be able to have all of those weapons on your ship. And that's where it becomes great, because this is a roguelike. It's an RNG based system. You're going to have to make do with what you get. Sometimes you're going to get some strange combination of weapons, and it's great because it's so well balanced that you're always going to be able to find a combination which just works. But the thing that does not work is to have just one type of weapon in the game. Except if that type is Burst Lasers Mark II. Use those. If you see them, you buy them. Burst Lasers Mark II. Give a kidney for them, okay? But I hear you. You're like, yeah, those weapons are great. But what if I want to punch the enemy in the face?
I'm going to punch your face. In the face.
I have a solution for you. Weapons are not the only way to defeat your enemies. No, no, no. You can use a teleporter system to board their ship with your crew, and then you can punch them in the face. Yeah, you can do that. And if you do that, you gain a lot more resources from the battle because you did not destroy their ship. So raving and pillaging just as the gods intended. Speaking of resources, whenever you convince an enemy ship of the values of democracy, or you complete a random event, you will be given scrap, which is the game's money, to upgrade your ship, repair it, or buying new stuff like augments, weapons, systems, and friends, or unpaid labor. Speaking of crewmates, let's talk about the different races you're going to get. It's awesome, there's so much variety and they're so well designed. I just love them. Well, let's get into it. There are 8 different races in the game, which add different things. They add different benefits and things that are not so great about them, which really augments the management part of the game. I love them. And yes, I'm going to talk about them all in this video. So strap in, let's go. You have the humans, the vanilla race of the game, you know, classic. They're good, but pretty boring. They learn skills faster, but that's it. Boring humans. You have the Zotan, which are one of my favorite. They have lower HP, they explode when they die, but since they're made out of energy, if you put them in a system, they'll give you 1 free power, which is insane because power can cost a lot. There's the Engi, which are basically the Geth from Mass Effect. They deal less damage, but they repair twice as fast, which is also very good to have 1 or 2, but not more than that, because they're very weak. The Rocks, they move slower because of that chunky ass, but they have more health. When they fight, they throw rocks at enemies, which is like me throwing my body parts at someone whenever I disagree with them. Pretty kid-friendly stuff when you think about it, huh? Slugs are boring. I mean, they're slugs. Their thing is that they cannot get mind controlled, which I mean is, who cares? If the ship has a mind control system, they'll just mind control someone else. You never have a slug-only ship, so boring. Their other thing is that they can see where the crew are of your ship and the enemy ship. I mean, just buy sensors. The classic suck boys, the Lanius. What do I mean by that? They do not breathe oxygen. In fact, they suck the oxygen out of any room where they're placed, which is very hard if you have other crewmates that are not Laniuses. But it's great if someone is boarding you or if you are boarding them, because you just suck the oxygen out. They live in your walls, they suck your oxygen. And finally, my favorite race, the Mantis. They repair slowly because they have claws. They don't have hands. They're Mantis. But they do a lot more damage and they move faster than the other races. So if you board a ship, use Mantises and you will kill everyone. They're great. I love them. I want to hug them, but not really because they're going to kill me. I love them. They're great. But hey, I only talked about 7 races and I said there were 8. I don't know how to count, apparently. Well, no, I do know. I finished kindergarten, joke's on you. No, there are 8 races, there's one final secret race. But I'm not going to spoil it here because it's a big secret and you're going to feel great whenever you discover it. So go play the game and find out by yourself. You're gonna love them. And remember, you are the Federation. You federate. Your crew should be varied and diverse, because every race can bring something to the table. Always have 1 Engi, they can repair stuff. Have 1 Zotan, the free power is just so good, but they have lower health, remember? And try and build your crew however you can, but since it's an RNG, you don't always get a choice on what your crew is going to be, so good luck. And now let's talk about difficulty. I'm sorry, my segue guy is dead. I don't know what to do. Difficulty, let's go! Well, as you can begin to imagine, you infidel, there are a lot of things to manage, and you think to yourself, how will I be able to manage all the systems, upgrades, races, weapons, and combat? And well, the game will simply give you this answer. Get good, scrub! You will die a lot, multiple times, because you weren't efficient enough with your weapons, or you forget to send someone to repair your oxygen, maybe you underestimated the fire and now it's killing your crew one by one, or you lost your shields in an asteroid field and the ship destroyed you. It's dumb ways to die. So you guess that this game is very frustrating at times. Some ships will be super easy, you just have to wait in front of the computer and kill them, but some fights will be complete bullshit. I know I've been using RNG a lot in these videos, and I also know that by today's standards, whenever you hear RNG, thanks to loot boxes, it just makes you want to go in the city, scream naked, and curl up in a ball and cry. But I truly believe that RNG has its place in game design, and I think FTL uses it very well, because you always have risks and consequences, just like in real life. You never know what is waiting for you on the other side of that jump. Sometimes you are lucky, you get resources or a crewmate, maybe a weapon, and sometimes you find yourself in a shit situation and you have to use everything you know about the game to survive. But it doesn't feel like this game is screwing you in one jump. You're not just simply in the wrong place and boom, you die. It's more like a challenge, and you're going to lose health little by little during the game, so you have ample chances to survive, adapt, evolve, find new weapons, develop a new strategy, manage differently, and you can win almost every time once you learn the game. But at first, you're going to lose a lot. It's part of the experience. You lose, you learn, and whenever you manage to defeat the flagship, the final boss of the game, you feel like you have accomplished something, and with each death, you feel like it's partially your fault, so you can always learn from defeat. It's not always unfair like Cat Mario back in the day. But why are we here?
Just to suffer.
No, we're not here just to suffer. We're here to defeat ships, jump to sectors, abusing our crewmates, of course, and defeat the flagship. But why? What's at stake exactly? Well, let's talk about the story. The story, just like other things in this game, is pretty simple on surface level. You are part of the Galactic Federation, which is being almost defeated by an all-human rebellion that got sick of aliens. Ah, humans. Even in this game they managed to bring more suffering than literal face-eating giant mantis alien monsters. I am so proud of us. Brings a tear to my eye. Your goal is to deliver a message to the Federation base, telling them about the weaknesses of the rebel flagship, and then destroying that Chungus ship, saving the Federation and partying with them peachy slugs. But that's not the most important part of the game. This game is about the journey, not the destination. The most important thing are the events, because they bring a whole new story to the game. As I said before, you get to a beacon and you get a text with an event or an enemy ship or pirates, slavers, whatever. The thing is, every beacon feels different. Every beacon has its story. And I feel this brings a lot of world building to the game, because you will learn about the races, you learn about planets, you learn about relations between the races. For example, there is actually one event. You see two ships that have collided with each other and are moving, so naturally you're a good guy and you decide to go and help. But then the NGs inside of the ships attack you, because this is a mating ritual for NG ships. They mate. The ships mate. But yeah, the story may seem straightforward, and it isn't. You will have to explore and read, go to different sectors and learn little bits of the story one piece at a time. And that's something I actually love about this game and other indie games. They aren't going to shove a simplistic story down your throat with some unskippable cutscenes and exposition.
I do not trust you. He may, but I do not.
Shut up! No, if you want to know what's going on, well, you're going to have to explore and find it for yourself. No one is going to tell you. You're going to have to search for it. And all of this brings so much immersion to this game. You just feel like you're living it for real. But you know what else brings immersion in the game? That's right, music. Well, the music was created by this absolute unit of a man. His name is Ben Prunty. And what he made may just be the single thing in this world that will give you instant orgasms. Let me show you some examples. The music is so well done, and it brings the whole game to life. Imagine your ship is low on health, you lost some crewmates, and you arrive in a new hostile sector, and then you hear this. You don't know what is waiting for you. You are in the unknown. You don't know how you're going to deal with it. Are you strong enough? Are your weapons good enough for this sector? Are you going to restart?
Again?
And this music just brings this stress to life. The atmosphere created by this music is just chef's kiss. And this is a personal thank you to you, Ben Prunty. I love your music. I listen to it even when I'm not playing, when I'm outside. So, on another note, you got punned? All of the music have an explore and a battle variant. When you go into combat or get out of it, the two variants of musics will always blend perfectly together. For an indie game made in 1 year, that little detail can really help you get immersed in the game and feel the intensity of every moment. In conclusion, this game seems pretty simple at first, but don't be fooled by that. There's so many components, so many strategies, events, it can feel pretty overwhelming at times. But if you learn to manage those different things, you will defeat the game and you will feel this sense of accomplishment and ready to take on a new challenge. The story is also pretty good. The universe is very well built, but you are going to have to go explore and search for it if you want to learn everything. I love the fact that this story is built like a puzzle. Every event will give you a different piece, and your brain has to put it all together. When I begin a new game, I manage my crew, I fight, I listen to the exceptional music, and I jump from beacon to beacon without ever knowing what is going to happen. The game completely immerses me and I really do feel like the captain of this mighty vessel. For an indie game with such low graphics and absolutely no voice acting, achieving immersion is mind-blowing, but they did it, and for all those reasons, this game is one of my most beloved games of all time. Well, you managed to get this far into the video. Thank you for watching. If you have any suggestions for another game you want me to review, I will read your comments and try to respond to every single one of them. If you find this video interesting or entertaining, please like it, share it, bop it, and subscribe to my channel for future content. Thank you for watching and see you in the next indie game review. This was Wisdom Zombie, and I'm going back to my grave to ponder about other indie games. See you guys.